Okay, guys, welcome to the next session as we tackle Module 2, the 7 steps to dominate your market. And today we're going to be going to Lesson 2, which is specialized farming areas. And we look at very specifically why specialized farming areas make a difference and will lead to your ultimate outcome and financial freedom. So as we go into this, I just want to clarify a couple of things. Will was saying earlier that he had a speaker talking about dominating as being specialist. And I want to just start off by quickly talking to you about, if we look at the medical fraternity, you have a GP or a general practitioner, and you have a cardiothoracic surgeon. Let me ask you this quick question. Which are one of those specialties, or which one, the cardiothoracic surgeon or the general practitioner, makes more money per hour? Who would you think? Any ideas? The cardiothoracic surgeon or the GP? Who?
No, the surgeon.
The specialist.
Specialist,
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the specialist is going to charge more for time. Generally, they'll charge 5,000 Rand per hour. The doctor will charge 500 Rand per hour. So one earns 10 times more than the other. Why? Because the one is more specialized. Does everybody see the value of that? And that's what we're going to become. You need to become the specialist in your area, because then you can charge more money and you will make more money. So what we're going to cover here, guys, is we're going to cover this specialized farming area, and that's step 1 of the 7 steps to dominate your market. And we're going to land on this road. What I'd like to do is I'm going to quickly show you a short little video clip by Tom Ferry, who's a coach in the US. He talks about specialized farming, and it's just to give you an overview of this. So I just want to show this to you, and we'll chat more about it.
Really understands a conversation we've been in for years called geographic farming and owning your marketplace, and specifically becoming the expert in your town. So Anthony and I were brainstorming, of course, last December about one of the marketing pieces we wanted to put together for the new year. Well, here it is. I've got it in my hands. I want to show it to you, and I like this for a lot of reasons. I like it because it really speaks to his brand. It really speaks to his local market knowledge, his expertise, and the results he's producing. And at the end of the day, how else is a consumer selecting us? You know, our brand, our marketing, our track record, our relationship, our connection to the community. That's a big part of how consumers are selecting their agent today. So I just wanted to show you this. You've heard me talk about it before. Do a monthly newsletter, send it to your past clients in Sphere, and then send it out to your farm. So you can see, pretty simple little example. I know it's on video. You're not going to see it perfect, but I like that a lot. You know, there's his photo, there's his brand, little story about the market, you know, what's going on in terms of listings. But the one I liked is he took the back and he did that. Take a quick peek at that. Yeah, you know, it's a cartoon rendering of the community that he serves, and of course all those red houses represent all of the sales that he's made. Plus he's got a little memorable spots around town that everybody would recognize, and the highway that kind of separates this town from that town. And he put that on the back just with a reminder of, that's how many properties we've been selling in this community. Then in that same piece, he showed us all of his new listings. And I like the style, these renderings, if you will, a little bit different. I like different. Different is good. It makes you stand out. But most importantly, what's cool about this is it really represents his brand and his community and the people he's looking to serve.
So guys, I think what I wanted to do there is just talk about the specialized farming area and what that is. So what I'd like to do is quickly just ask you just some comments on that. I'd like to just talk to you about the comments on that video and what you got out of that and what was made a difference for you guys. Anything that came out of that?
To stand out and be different.
Stand out. Okay. So differentiate yourself from the market. Absolutely. Yeah. What else? What else about in terms of specialization? What is anything out of that?
Yeah, for me, it was building your brand. Eh?
Okay.
And you can't build your brand in 17 different areas.
Exactly. And I think that's the key. Like, I mean, okay, let's be honest. I mean, if we could build our brand, if we could do that to the whole of South Africa, hey, it'd be amazing. But it's just difficult. We don't have the resources, the time, or the money to do that. That's the reality. So your marketing spend becomes very small when you work in a smaller area. I love what that video that he showed you that. Can you see that was one of the top agents in the area? But can you see that area that he worked? It was very small, wasn't it? It was a small geographical area, but he was dominating. And that's the key. Okay. So just on specialization, I remember I was working in one area And one of the complexes, there were 33 complexes that were available to me for me to work in the area that I designated. When I did my valuations of those areas, I found that out of the 33 complexes, only 13 or 12 complexes did more than 10% trade a year. So guess what? I only worked 12 complexes. The other complexes I never bothered with because they were doing less than 10% trade. So I knew that if I was working 12 complexes, I could dominate those complexes. One of the complexes was a little complex here. It had 3 little estates within it. So I would go in there, and at one stage, I had 3 sales in a 6-week period in one complex. But I was very surprised and amused at the reactions I got. All of a sudden, I had people, when I'd come into the complex, I would have sellers or people living there would come to me. And I remember one day, this one woman came to me, took me by the hand, walked me through the complex, upstairs to a friend, and said to a friend, "This is the guy I was talking to you about. He can sell your property as well." And that was the time that dawned on me, the area specialization, how important it is. Because I never knew that person, but other people were endorsing me to sell their property. I thought, oh my word, like, how do I get more of this? Does that make sense? And what happened in that complex is I realized there's also a linger. And what happened is every time I went for a viewing or did a listing in that complex, I never left until I met 4 people. So I never left. I never went home. I just stayed and walked around to get to know people because everyone knew that I was the person for that complex. Does it make sense, guys? So it's that simple. All right. So it's about building that rapport and being special. So let's just jump into the specialization quickly because this will blow your mind. So specialization talks about, we've done that. And I want to talk to you about this. So there are a couple of questions to determine, are you the expert in your area? So these are the questions you need to be able to answer for a couple of reasons. When you get the questions or you get the answers to these questions, you will be able to speak with authority and with conviction. So the first question is, how many trades? So I'd like you to write down on a piece of paper right now in your area, how many trades occurred last year? So in the last 12 months, how many transactions occurred in your area, right? Number 2, what was the total turnover in your area? All right. Then in that same question, what was the division between sectional title and freestanding? Which had more trade? Number 3, what was the average sale price in your area? Number 4, what is the threshold? In other words, the threshold is the price point at which very few trades occur over that. So it might be a 3 million rand threshold where there's only 9 trades out of all the trades of that, okay? And then number 5, what is the sweet spot? In other words, where are the majority of sales occurring? So those are the 5 questions that I'd like to ask. And now I'm going to ask you this. How well did you fare in answering those questions? So I'm smiling a bit because I'm being a bit naughty because I know that you probably don't have the answers to it, and that's okay. But why don't you have the answers? Like, if you've been in the industry for more than 1 day, you should have the answers. So now I'm smiling and I'm getting people not happy with me. Okay, why is that? Because I think, so this is what I want to share with you, is that I think sometimes we get into industry and we try and run before we're walking. Like we need to know our area first. Don't you think it's worthwhile knowing what you're talking about? So where do you find these answers? You find it on Property 24 and a transfer report. So that's what we're going to do. So I want to help you to do this, is just know the answers. So here's another question. If I knew the answers with this, when I speak to a buyer or a seller, would you agree that you could speak with authority? Like you could speak like with conviction, like you know what you're talking about? Does that make sense? And so that's what you want to try. So I'll give you an example. So in my area, I was working. It's a small area, but I knew that at that stage, my area, the total volume that was working was just over 300 million rand for the last year. I knew that there were 174 transactions that traded in that year. That the sweet spot was between 2 million and 3 million rand for freestanding homes, and between 1.6 and 2.8 for sectional title. I knew that my threshold for freestanding homes was at 3 million rand. I knew that only 9 properties sold above 3 million rand in a 12-month period. So when I was speaking to buyers and sellers, I could speak with authority because I knew my area. Can you see how valuable that is? So how does that affect us? Well, when I get a listing and I'm speaking to a seller and they want to list, and I knew that my threshold in terms of rand per square meter, the average trade for freestanding was between 7.5 and 12,500 rand per square meter. So when a seller says to me they've got a freestanding home and they want to list their property at 13,000 rand per square meter, guess what? I could speak with complete authority and say that that's never going to sell and forget it. Go speak to somebody else. I'm not going to help you. How does that sound?
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I need to interrupt. Sorry, Dion, I've
yes,
got
well,
a listing that I need to go
sure.
to, and I made the appointment for 11 o'clock.
Okay, well, no
if you
worries.
don't mind.
Good. Okay, well, thanks for being here. It's great to have you aboard. We'll get the recording, okay? We'll see you next week on
Yeah,
it.
thank you very much, guys.
Okay, guys.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Cheers, Ed. So does that make sense, guys? So, so we know we can speak with authority, guys. And I suppose with commercial as well, same thing. Just know your price points, know your thresholds. So when you're speaking to tenants that come along and they say, oh, well, it's a buyer's market, therefore I'm going to put a cheeky offer in. You can speak and say, with respect, Mr. Buyer, this is the trade range currently that's been accepted, and you are 1,000 per square meter outside the trade range. I would suggest if you want any hope of getting an offer accepted, that we bring it into the price range. It means that when you get an offer like that and you start negotiating with your seller, it's just easier to negotiate to get a closing a deal. Does that make sense? Okay, so I just want to okay. So we're going to finish off with this, guys. Just quickly, I just want to do this. So those are the questions you want to have answered, because that'll help you. And then, because that'll make the biggest difference for you. Then again, I just want to share with you an area. So an area that I was working in, and with this designated area. But what the benefit of this is that I want to be visible. So you want to have your boards, these pink dots are your boards. And the question, are you visible? So can they see you? Do you have boards and are you online? Is your vehicle driving through the community? Do they know you? Can they communicate? Have you communicated with them yet? Have you sent them an email? Have you sent them a voice note? Have you actually met them? And again, if you're working in an area that's too big, you've never going to be able to meet those people because there's too many. But in this area, I can start communicating with these people on a regular basis so that I become a household name for them. And it takes 6 months to do that, but those 6 months will be very, very well spent. Happy with that, guys? All right. So here's a question. When you're talking about your area, how do you determine your area? How do you determine your market area? So the question is, how big should your area be? And it comes back down to this question. And this is not a hard and fast rule. It's just a thumb suck on this. But I would suggest that, can your area sustain 10% market share? In other words, if you did 10% market share, would you make enough money to make it worth your while? So the key there would be, if I was working a 50 million rand area, 10% would be 5 million rand. That's too tight. I'm not going to make enough money there. But if I'm working a 200 million rand area and I do 10%, that's 20 million rand. That means I can do that. Like if I did 5% market share, I could make money. So that's where I want to work towards. So that's how big the area must be. It needs to have enough volume. And then practical ease of access. Like if I'm living in Ballito and my area is in Mhlanga, even though Mhlanga is so close, it's not going to work for me, because every time I have a buyer, I need to be able to meet that buyer. I'm never going to meet. It's too much activity for me. Okay. And then ease of entry. Is there a lot of competition in that area in terms of, is there a dominant agent? So if there's a massively dominant agent who's got like 80% of the market, it might be a bit tricky. But if there's another agent that's got 30%, well, I can overcome that, because I can also do 30%. All right. And you can make that work. Are you guys happy with that? So that's it. Then the other thing is this. In terms of transfer, I wanted to share this with you quickly, because I want to show you practically how we look at this. And this is where what I'm talking about here, and I'm just going to just unshare quickly for a moment, is talk about, this is how I look at practically. I want you to determine your area by doing a transfer report. All right. So, and the transfer report is done on CMA or Lightstone, but CMA specific. And you go into CMA, and on CMA, you go and look at sales in your area. So recent sales. And you do it for a specific time frame. You do it for the last 12 months. So all you do is you look at recent sales for the last 12 months. With CMA, you'll have to do it for sectional title first, then for freestanding. And that's going to give you a report, and you do it. You get an Excel report, and you just basically export that to Excel. And this is where what I've got here is I've got this Excel report. So what I've done is I've gone into Lightstone, I've done a report for Umhlanga Rocks, and this is what I've got. So it gives me the raw data. The benefit of this is that I can then start to manipulate the data. So what I'll do here is I'll go, see if you see it's got sectional name. So first thing I can do is I can go and see, okay, let's look at what sectional title complexes are actually trading. So, so I can go from A to Z. So I look at that. And what it brings up, you can see as I move down. So Weaver Crescent has had 4 sales. Can you see that that Ben Siesta has got like quite a few sales as well? Can you see Chartwell Center? That was a commercial unit. It's got a lot of sales. Cordoba, can you see 1, 2, 3, 4 sales in the year? Costa del Sol 3. So those are the complexes that I'm going to typically want to work in. Edge of the Sea, 1, 2, 3, 4 sales. And they're quite nice, 4 million, 9 million, 5 million. So I'd like to do 1 or 2 of those a year. Isilweni, 1. Havant View. Can you see Havant View is like there's a lot of sales there. So therefore, I want to be in that, I want to be in that complex because I think that's going to be a really worthwhile. Kailanga also, Long Beach, good. So that just gives me an idea of the complexes. Then I go to sale price and I do the same thing with sale price. I click on there and I go largest to smallest because what I want to see is I want to see like where my sweet spot is. So if I look there, if I scroll down now, I can see 19 million, there was a commercial unit sold or pearls. But if I look at this, if I go down, you can see above 7 million, kind of 7 million is like my threshold. Because above 7 million, there's only 20 sales out of 170. So that's where my threshold is. So I'd be careful to list too much in that range because there aren't a lot of buyers there. Then I'll go see, can you see that my sweet spot, like there's a lot in the 5 million, 4 million, and 3 million mark. Can you see that? Like very easy. Like if I get something in the 2 million to 4 million mark, can you see that I'm gonna sell it? Would you agree with that? So it's like a good trade. And then I want to see, so these are all for the last year, 2018. So it gives me an idea. But the other thing I want to track is I want to see, so what is the total volume? So if I go down here, I just highlight that all the way down to the bottom. And what you'll see is that the volume there is 756 million Rand. It was the sum total of the total volume. So therefore, that's a good market. I think I could make money there. So can you see that a lot of my data is got from the transfer report, and I can now make informed decisions about if I should work there. So here's a question to you. If you're looking at that for the first time, do you think that's a good market to work in? Yeah. Now, if I do some research, what I do is I will drive to that area and I'm going to look I want to see who's dominating. So I've done that. I've driven through that area. And guess what? As I drive through that area, there's quite a few for sale boards, but not one dominant person. The person that had the most for sale boards, again, how many boards do you think they had? 3. Like seriously, there's nobody dominating. So like, man, I think, man, that's a good market. I want to dominate that market. If I was Merck, I'd go that market and I would just put in my board. It's a very small, tight knit area. Okay, happy with that, guys? Right, good. All right, so as long as you understand just that, so the way we do it is we do a transfer report and it gives us an idea of what's happening there. And you want to be the specialist. And the key there is this thing of being a big fish in a small pond. That's the key of being an expert in what you're doing. All right, and I think that could make a difference. All right, so guys, just on that. So what we've done is we've covered there. So this was the module 2, which is the 7 steps of dominating your market. We've looked at lesson 1, which is this overview of the 7 steps. We've looked at the 7 steps that we're going to cover. All of those 7 steps will be dealt with in depth in the rest of the series. And now we've looked at the first step or the first lesson or second lesson has been specialized farming area. Could I just get some insight, any comments or questions about specialized farming area and what the values of that? Anyone want to mention that?
So Deon, I'd like to ask, so I totally get it. Like, so I completely buy into the farming area. But what happens? So if you've got 1 or 2 connections that kind of manage investment properties and can kind of open up a whole world to you, and they start feeding you some opportunities that aren't like some really nice opportunities, but they're not. So I'm really close to like Queen Nandi Drive, Riverhorse Valley. Like I stay really close within 5 minutes.
Yes.
So that I would see as my specialized farming area.
Okay.
Yet I've got some people that are wanting to feed me quite like substantial business and that's a little bit more abroad.
Yep.
What's your take on that
Yep.
kind of stuff?
So, and it's never a hard and fast rule, but so a couple of things on that, because now you're talking about commercial, slightly different to residential. So you
Okay.
could do geographical farming, or you could do product farming. So
Okay.
just you could, from a product farming perspective, you could just specialize in industrial. So you don't touch offices. You just do industrial if you wanted to. That you could also do
Okay.
if you got that specialized. But let's say you've identified an area that's close by to you, so that's worthwhile. So it's easy to do it. But if you've got an area that's going to make that one of your areas as well, so you do one area plus another area, so you've got two areas that you're focused on. The question is, can you service that area? In other words, if you've got 10 tenants, so 10 land buyers a week wanting to see you, can you take them to see the units?
Yeah.
If they're too far and it's becoming a hassle, then I would refer that out.
Okay.
But so can you service the area? That's the first question.
Yeah.
So, 'cause you've got to be able to do that. And so what it is, so you might have, so in your area, let's talk about it. Say you've got two geographical areas. So you've got a small unit here and you've got another small unit here. That's okay. And there might be a 3 kilometer, 5 kilometer radius, a distance between them. But you're still specializing two areas. So the question, if they take that area, if I'm in that one little area, am I dominating that area? Have I got lots of listings? So you get 10, 20, 30 listings that one year, that's good. It's just that when you dilute it too much across different things, now I've got listings everywhere, that's when it becomes a problem. Yeah. So
Okay.
don't take that. If you've got someone that's going to feed you, then make that your area. Just do that.
Okay, cool.
But it leads to the other question that it might be, if I can't service the area and I get let's say my brother-in-law gives me a listing and I'm in Durban and they give me a listing in Johannesburg. Can you see it's just ludicrous for me to do that listing?
Yeah.
But what I do is
Absolutely.
I refer that out. But it becomes tricky when it's closer by. So just determine, make an informed decision. Like, do you want to drive I don't know, 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers? I think it's too far to drive personally. Because if I've got 10 people to take out this week and I've got to drive 20 kilometers there and back every time, I'm going to start begrudging it and I'm not going to be able to service. And also I'm not in the area. So my car's not in the area. I'm never there. So I'm not present. Okay. I don't know if that answers. Did it help with that?
Yeah, that's helpful.
Any other questions there, guys? Daniel? You guys okay? Good. Welcome. Leslie, are you okay with that? Any other questions there? Okay, Melanie. So Melanie, Leslie's doing rental, so she's specialized in a specific complex, and she's going to real focus on that complex, which is really good. And she's got one or two other complex, which is really good because you can start dominating. And the benefit as a team, because what happens if we each dominating our areas, we're getting the majority of the listings, so now we can cross-sell between each other. That's the key. And just lastly on the specialized area and the listings, we talk 20 listings as a minimum to get some traction, but I just think in any given time, in any given area, your area, there'll be 100 to 300 listings. Why don't you just do all 300? I don't know. I'm just dominate, just completely dominate. Just do it. Obviously, the question, can I manage all the listings? Obviously, if it's a sole mandate, I can't manage 300 sole mandates, but I can manage 10 to 15 sole mandates at any given time and 20 for the year. All right. Any other questions? Michelle, questions from you? Are you guys happy? So guys, I just want to confirm what we've done. So today we've started with the masterclass series, and we've covered the module 1, which is System for Success, and we looked at the 2 Comma Club strategy. And the 2 Comma Club strategy basically was 2 sessions: build your personal brand, build your business brand. And between the two, you could do R1 million turnover, R1 million income. We looked at an overview of the system we're going to cover, the Fast Track series. We're going to cover winning with sellers, winning with buyers. We're going to cover how to close like a rock star, your database. We're going to cover mandates, all that stuff. And then we've kicked off today with module 2, when we looked at the 7 steps to dominating your market. And in that, we covered what those 7 steps were. And we've also looked at session 1 or lesson 1, which was specialized farming area. And we've covered that. And I hope that's trust. So what we're going to go into is we're going to go into next session. We're going to go into lesson 2, and we're going to look at the database, because I want you to understand how the database works. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to jump straight into module 3, which is going to be winning with sellers. And we're going to start dealing with winning with sellers. Has got 7 or 8 lessons, but we're going to go into it in depth so that you, with confidence, can go into a seller presentation, do a presentation, do evaluation, I promise you, you will be confident about what you're offering your seller. Then we're going to jump into the next module, which will be winning with buyers. We'll go through the whole process, and we'll do like a bit of a Q&A after that, and then we'll go into closing like Rockstar. So it's going to go over the period of time. You'll get that done, okay? But you'll basically have everything covered. Does everybody have a good idea mentally in their mind? They've got like a picture of where they're going and what we're going to do. All right, good. Guys, you've been amazing. I just want to say well done. Congratulations. So we'll see you on the next module then.